Hello, dear friends. One of my channel subscribers contacted me and sent me their broken Dell laptop for repair. The problem, according to the owner, was that it simply wouldn't turn on. It only worked for a month after purchase, meaning the laptop was practically new. We took it to several repair shops, but they refused to fix it because they couldn't identify the cause of the defect. Upon inspection, the laptop was indeed in good condition, close to perfect. Currently, it doesn't respond to the power button. The original power supply wasn't included, which complicates my work somewhat. I always say that I don't specialize in laptop repair. This means I don't have 100,500 different types of test power supplies for every laptop. Luckily, I found a suitable adapter for the universal power supply connector in my stash. I soldered the wires, and now we can at least supply power to the laptop. Of course, the power supply obviously won't be recognized as the original Dell power supply. This means the laptop will operate at minimum power, and the battery won't charge. But this isn't important for us right now, and it'll be sufficient for testing the power supply. I set the output voltage to 19.4 volts on the lab power supply. I limit the current to 3.5 AI, connect the power cable and turn on the lab power supply. Current consumption immediately increased. It stabilized at approximately 770 milliamperes. After pressing the power button, consumption increased to almost 900 milliamperes and then dropped sharply to 60 milliamperes. After pressing the power button, the cycle repeats. The caps lock indicator on the keyboard is lit. It doesn't turn off. Clearly, the laptop isn't initializing. That's basically it, judging by the behavior of my initialization tester. Basically, this is the laptop's behavior. Since I'm not a laptop expert, and I'm repeating this specifically for professional laptop repairmen, this behavior doesn't mean anything to me. Let's take it apart and see what's wrong. After all, the device is new, according to the owner. I unscrew the screws and remove the bottom case. I use a metal spudger to release the case latches, as I know this gets on a lot of people's butts. The lid comes off without any signs of disassembly. I move on to inspecting the insides for any obvious defects or signs of repair. Signs of liquid spillage immediately catch my eye. There's some oxidation on the additional circuit board near the right hinge. Overall, it doesn't look critical, but it's worth inspecting the other side of the board as well. I unscrew the screws and turn it over. This is where the BS volatile memory battery is located. The battery is completely discharged. I removed it and checked for low resistance on the connector contacts. The resistance is high, and the multimeter hits the upper limit, meaning there's no low resistance. And that's good. I can install a new battery without worrying about it running flat right away. That's much better. Well, it's better, isn't it? The BS settings will be saved, although in this case, that's not really important, because the laptop doesn't initialize. That's its main problem. I put the board and battery aside and move on to inspecting the motherboard. I tested the power on test with the additional board disconnected. The laptop behaves the same. The processor gets slightly warm, which is noticeable. I ran a multimeter across the power chokes. I didn't notice anything unusual. I removed the cooling system. I want to check the processor's condition after several services. Maybe it's completely desoldered. Anything can happen. There are no defects on the crystals. The processor wasn't desoldered, and that's good, but I noticed that someone had soldered the BS chips. There are two of them, and both were soldered. Clearly, the flash memory had been flashed. I think I should check the integrity of the firmware and write known good data to it. I quickly desolder them with a hairdryer. I don't heat it for long to avoid overheating the adjacent plastic connector components. And the battery, of course. While desoldering, I noticed a distinctive pine smell, which is emitted by Florida Plus flux. This flux is not cheap, so it is used exclusively for BGA soldering and other critical work. An experienced repairman would definitely not use it for soldering memory chips, although, I might be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I installed the chip in the programmer. By the way, This is the second chip. I've already worked with the first one. Everything is fine with it. I made a dump and wrote a working firmware. The second chip was also automatically detected. I'm reading data from it for the dump, but a problem appeared. A read error. This didn't happen with the first chip. I thought the problem was a faulty chip itself, which is probably logical. But why else would it not be read? I bought new identical chips, tried flashing them, and got the exact same error, meaning the problem isn't with the chips. I was a bit surprised, as this was the first time I'd encountered this. The problem was solved quite simply. I updated the programmer software to the latest version, and everything worked. The chip was read, the dump was saved, and the new firmware was written. I soldered the chip back in place. Now both chips in the daemon have known working firmware. I checked the startup. After applying power, it started automatically. The display doesn't display. Initialization still doesn't work, and for some reason, pressing the power button has also stopped responding. It doesn't have the required voltage, which is normally 2.53 volts, 50 millivolts. What we're seeing now is not normal. Let's figure out why the power button doesn't have the required voltage. The button itself is working. One of its pins goes to ground, and nothing can happen to it. And the second conclusion, the trace connects to a via that goes to a trace on the other side of the board. There's an area damaged by corrosion on it. By the way, it's convenient that I haven't yet washed away the traces of liquid, otherwise this spot would be harder to find. The problem is this. The trace doesn't ring from one end to the other. That's exactly where the break is. I repair the trace under a microscope, since it's quite thin. I clean the damaged area, apply flux, and tin it. Then I solder a copper wire to the break. I check the operation. Okay, the break is fixed. I protect the repaired area with varnish. The voltage on the power button now reads 2.8 volts, rounded up. Let's see what changes in the laptop's behavior. I press the button, and the consumption rises to 100 mAh. Great, I have a picture. I assembled the laptop for testing. The operating system booted up and everything worked fine, except for the battery, which wasn't detected at all. Apparently, it had been sitting idle for a long time and had been flooded. A corresponding message was also displayed because the laptop was using a non-original charger, so the processor itself was running at the minimum frequency, and the battery wasn't charging, even if it was working. I reinstalled the firmware from the original firmware, which were the dumps I'd saved. I cleaned the rust on the circuit board and reassembled the device. I didn't find any additional defects during testing. I recorded a video for the owner showing how the device was currently working and explained that I couldn't fully test it without the original charger. And, most likely, the battery would need to be replaced to restore it to perfect condition. Since the owner had the original charger, he simply forgot to include it. He decided to leave it at that and replace the battery himself if necessary. Upon receiving the device, he checked it. The battery still didn't work, so he replaced it with a new one. After that, the laptop started working completely properly. I'm including the owner's message so I won't be accused of making things up. Let's summarize. I believe the initial defect was caused by a spill. Liquid got on the power button's signal path, causing it to stop working. It's possible that it was being detected as constantly pressed. Because of this, the laptop wouldn't initialize. After 2 years of sitting in a flooded state, the battery drained completely. Its controller locked up, and a battery replacement was eventually required. After fixing the spill, the power button worked properly, and the laptop was restored. Flashing the BIA chips was unnecessary. Since the device had been repaired and had obvious traces of soldering on the memory chips, I simply had to flash them with known good firmware to eliminate the possibility that someone had written incorrect data. Well, my dear friends, that's all for today. Thank you all for your attention, and I'll see you at other repairs. See you soon.